The maid didn't know she was working for her long-lost brother until he finally revealed the truth. The sun poured through the wide glass windows of the Albright estate, lighting the marble floors like a sea of gold. Isabelle Flores stepped through the front doors, holding her breath. She had worked in rich homes before, but nothing like this. The walls were tall. The air smelled clean and cold. Her shoes made soft taps as she followed the head maid down the hallway. "This is where you'll clean," the head maid said, opening a door to a quiet study. "No noise. Mr. Albright doesn't like noise." Isabelle nodded. "Understood." She set her bag down, trying not to let her hands shake. It was her first day here, and she needed this job badly. The last family let her go without a reason. Rent was late, food was low, and worst of all, a dull ache had returned, an old ache, one that never really left. The ache of wondering what happened to her little brother. She had no memory of the fire's beginning, just the heat, the smoke, the panic. Then, nothing. She was told Leo died, but no body was found. Her heart refused to believe it. Now, here she was, older, alone, and cleaning the home of a man she had never met. Isabelle bent down to dust the lower shelves. As she stood back up, her eyes caught a photo frame behind some books. She pulled it out. A boy, brown hair, big eyes. He looked familiar. She blinked. No, it couldn't be. She put the photo back and turned away quickly. Her hands were cold. "It's just your mind playing tricks again," she told herself. Across the mansion, Lucas Albright stood in his upstairs office, watching the security cameras on his screen. The moment he saw her face, he stopped breathing. No, it couldn't be her. Could it? He leaned closer to the monitor. The eyes, the way she moved, the way she stopped at that photo. He stepped back from the screen. His heart thumped. He needed air. Lucas had built a world of silence around him. No family, no noise. Just machines, work, and numbers. But her face broke that world in half. Could it be? After all these years? He walked out of his office and slowly headed downstairs. But when he reached the study, she was gone. Only the faint smell of lavender remained. Later that evening, Isabelle returned to her small apartment above the garage. She was tired but alert. Something felt strange. The house, the photo, the man. She hadn't seen Mr. Albright yet, but she felt something stir in her chest, a pull like gravity. She sat on the edge of her bed and opened the only box she owned from her past. Inside, an old drawing, 2 children holding hands. Leo plus Isa, written in shaky letters. She ran her fingers across it and whispered, "Where are you, Leo?" Meanwhile, Lucas stared at an old news article pinned behind his desk. Fire destroys Flores family home. 1 child dead, 1 missing. He had stared at that page for years. Wondered, hoped, hated himself. He picked up his phone and called his assistant. "No changes to her schedule. Don't let her know anything. Not yet. Because if he was wrong, it would break his heart all over again." The next morning, Isabelle dressed early. She tied her hair back, buttoned her plain uniform, and looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were tired but focused. She needed to stay sharp. This job was too important. Downstairs, the house was still and quiet, too quiet. Every step she took echoed faintly against the polished marble. She carried her supplies to the library, trying not to think about the photo she saw the day before, but it was still in her mind. That boy's face. Why did it remind her of Leo? She shook the thought away. It was just a picture, that's all. Behind the large doors of his study, Lucas watched the hallway through a thin crack. He saw her pass. The way she looked at the walls, like they spoke to her. He had hired dozens of maids before, but none stayed long. He didn't care for conversation. He preferred distance. But now, everything was changing. He walked to the drawer beside his desk. Slowly, he pulled out an old toy truck. It was worn, 1 wheel missing. He hadn't touched it in years. He remembered the day he gave it to Leo, but Leo wasn't the name he grew up with. Back then, he was just Leo Flores, until the fire, until the lies, until he was adopted under a new name, Lucas Albright. He never forgot, never stopped searching, and now she was here, his sister, working as a maid in his home, but she didn't know, and he didn't know how to tell her. That night, Isabelle stayed late cleaning the main dining room. The lights above cast golden reflections on the table. As she polished the silverware, a melody drifted faintly through the air. She froze. It was a lullaby, a tune her mother used to hum. She walked slowly toward the sound, following it through the hallway, her heart pounding. The music stopped. She found herself standing near the piano room, but no one was there. Just the grand piano sitting still, a single key still vibrating softly. She reached out, gently touched the keys. A note rang out, low and warm. Then a voice spoke. "I didn't mean to scare you." She turned fast. There he was, Lucas. He stood near the shadows, tall, calm, unreadable. I was just cleaning," Isabelle said quickly, stepping back. He nodded. "I know." There was silence. Then he said, "You heard the song?" She looked down. "Yes, it's familiar." He studied her. "It's old. My mother used to play Ait." Isabelle's head lifted slightly, mine too. Their eyes met. Something hung in the air, heavy, invisible. Lucas nodded slowly. "Good night, Miss Flores." She hesitated. "Good night, sir." He turned and walked away, but his heart didn't. Upstairs, Lucas stood in front of a mirror, looking into his own eyes. "Why didn't I tell her?" "Because you're afraid," he thought. "Afraid she'll hate you for hiding it. Afraid she'll leave again." And Isabelle, she couldn't sleep. She sat on her small bed, holding the drawing of her and Leo again. Why does Mr. Albright feel familiar? Why did that lullaby come from nowhere? Was the house playing tricks on her? Or was something bigger going on? She didn't know, but she needed answers, and she was going to find them, even if it meant digging into the past she thought was gone forever. The next few days passed with strange tension. Isabelle did her work quietly, but her eyes wandered. Every hallway held a memory she didn't have. Every painting on the wall seemed to watch her. The mansion felt like it was hiding something. She started noticing little things. A photo in the hallway that disappeared the next day. A blanket folded the same way her mother used to fold theirs. A kitchen staff member mentioning how Mr. Albright never liked peanut butter, just like Leo. Too many coincidences, too many signs. She found herself watching Lucas from a distance. He walked with a stillness that reminded her of someone, but she didn't know who. His eyes always looked sad, even when he didn't speak. And yet, he seemed to appear wherever she was. Quiet, watching. One afternoon, Isabelle was dusting a high shelf in the second-floor guest room. She reached up, too far, and lost her balance. Before she could hit the floor, strong arms caught her. She gasped, blinking up. Lucas. Their faces were inches apart. He quickly helped her up, his touch gentle but fast. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice low. "I'm fine," she whispered. "Thank you." They stood in silence for a long second. Lucas looked like he wanted to say something, then he stepped back. "Please be careful." She nodded, breathless. "I will." He left without another word, but Isabelle's heart kept racing. That night she couldn't sleep, again. She took out the drawing one more time. And this time she turned it over. There was something written on the back, faded letters. "Find me." She stared at the words. Had she written that? Or had Leo? She grabbed her coat and tiptoed out of the room. The mansion was dark and quiet. Everyone was asleep. She walked down the hallways like a ghost, following a feeling she couldn't name. Past the kitchen, through the library, and into the old storage room. She had only cleaned it once. Something told her to look behind the old trunk in the corner. She moved it slowly. Behind it, she found a small box, dusty, locked. She picked it up and hurried back to her room. It took her nearly half an hour to pick the lock with a hairpin. Inside, a photo, 2 children, a boy and a girl, her and Leo. She covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. The back of the photo had one word in careful handwriting. Remember. Her hands trembled. Why was this photo here? Why in this house? She clutched it to her chest, her heart thudding. Something was happening. Something she had no words for. She looked out the window, where the mansion lights glowed faintly in the dark. She had to find out the truth. No more guessing, no more silence. Tomorrow she would talk to Lucas. Even if she was afraid, even if it broke everything, morning light crept into the sky, brushing the mansion walls with soft gold. Isabelle sat at the edge of her bed, holding the photo tightly. Her eyes were puffy from sleep, or from crying, maybe both. She didn't even know anymore. But her heart was clear now. She had to talk to him. She took a deep breath, changed into her uniform, and made her way downstairs. The house was waking up slowly. Staff moved quietly, preparing breakfast. She walked past them all, heading straight to Lucas's study. She knocked once. Silence. Then, "Come in." Lucas sat behind his desk, his face unreadable. A pen rested between his fingers, but he wasn't writing. He had been staring out the window. Thinking, or maybe waiting. She stepped in and shut the door behind her. "I need to ask you something," she said, her voice firmer than she expected. Lucas nodded once. "Go ahead." She walked closer, standing in front of the desk. Then slowly she placed the photo on the wood surface. His eyes dropped to it and froze. "I found this last night," Isabelle said. "In a box behind the trunk in the storage room." Lucas didn't speak. She continued, her voice shaking now. "That's me, and that's my brother. His name was Leo. He died in a fire, or at least that's what they told me." Lucas's fingers curled around the edge of the desk. "I know this is going to sound strange," she said, heart pounding. "But have we met before? Did you know him?" He stood up slowly, looking at her, really looking. His voice cracked. "I am him." Silence. "I'm Leo," he whispered. "Your brother." The words hit her like thunder. She took a step back. "No." "It's true," he said, eyes full of emotion. "After the fire, they told me you were gone. I was adopted. My name was changed. I searched for years. I hired people. I looked at old records, foster reports. Nothing ever led me to you." Isabelle's legs felt weak. She grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. "Why didn't you say anything?" she asked, barely able to speak. "I wasn't sure," he said. "Not at first, but the way you looked at the photo, the lullaby, your face, I knew, but I was scared." "Scared of what?" "That I was wrong, that I'd say something and you'd look at me like I was crazy. Or worse, that I'd lose you again." Tears filled her eyes. "All these years," she said, "I thought I had no one. I thought you were dead." Lucas stepped around the desk and stood in front of her. "I thought the same." And then she broke. Sobs escaped her chest as she leaned into him. He wrapped his arms around her, tight, like he never wanted to let go again. "I missed you," she cried. "I missed you so much. I missed you too." They stood there in the quiet room, brother and sister, no longer strangers. But when the hug ended and their tears dried, a heavy silence returned. Isabelle looked at him. "You let me work here for weeks. You watched me, without saying a word." Lucas looked down. "I know." "You lied," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said. "I was just lost." She turned away. So was too. The door clicked softly as she left the room. Lucas didn't follow. Upstairs, Isabelle lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Her heart was full, but also broken in places she didn't know could still break. He was alive. He was here, but everything felt tangled. She closed her eyes and whispered, "What now?" The days that followed moved like fog. Isabelle did her chores in silence, avoiding Lucas whenever she could. She wasn't angry, not fully, but she wasn't okay either. Too many feelings were crashing inside her, like waves during a storm. He was her brother, her blood, and he had hidden the truth. Lucas stayed in his study most of the time. He didn't ask for anything, didn't give orders. He just sat in silence, staring at the past like it still had power over him. Every time he heard footsteps in the hallway, he hoped it was her. Every time, it wasn't, until one night, a soft knock came at his door. He opened it, and there she stood. "I don't hate you," she said quietly. His shoulders dropped like a weight had slipped off. "Thank you, but I need to know everything," she added. "Every piece, no more secrets." He nodded. "Come in." She stepped into the study, and he led her to a small couch near the fire. He took out a wooden box from a drawer. "These are the things I kept," he said. "Everything I found that might have led me to you." Isabelle opened it carefully. Inside were yellowed papers, a melted bracelet, a crayon drawing she remembered from her childhood, and a letter. She picked it up. "It's from our mother," Lucas said. "A neighbor found it near the fire scene and kept it. I only got it 2 years ago." Isabelle unfolded it, hands trembling. The letter was short. "To my babies, if anything happens to me, know I loved you more than life. Stay together. Don't let this world take that away from you, Mama." Tears rolled down her cheeks. She didn't try to stop them. "She wanted us together," she whispered. Lucas's voice cracked. "And I failed." "No," she said. "You didn't. We're here now. That's what matters." He looked at her, his eyes shining. "I want to be your brother again, Isabelle. Not just someone who owns a house you work in. I want you in my life, for real." She looked into his eyes. "Then stop acting like a stranger," she said. "Let me in." They sat there not as maid and master, but as two broken souls learning how to be whole again. Over the next few weeks, things began to change. Isabelle no longer worked in the mansion. Lucas offered her a new room inside the house, not above the garage. She refused at first, but then accepted on one condition. "No special treatment. We start fresh, as equals." He agreed. They spent time together in small moments. Breakfasts with quiet smiles, walks around the garden, evenings with old photo albums. They laughed at memories only one of them remembered, and cried at the ones they had lost. But not everything was peaceful. There were questions, pain. Lucas still had nightmares about the fire. Isabelle still flinched when someone raised their voice. They were healing, but healing was not a straight line. One day, Isabelle found Lucas sitting by the piano, staring at the keys. "I was angry at you," she said. He didn't look up. "I know." She sat beside him. "But I was also scared. Scared you'd leave again. Scared this was just another dream." He turned to her. "It's not." They sat in silence. Then, slowly, Lucas played the lullaby. The same one their mother used to hum. And this time, they hummed it together. A song of memory. A song of loss. A song of coming home. Spring came. The garden outside the mansion bloomed with color. Roses, tulips, and wild daisies danced in the soft wind. Life was moving forward, even if the past still whispered. Isabelle had started keeping a journal. She wrote about the things she remembered, the things she wanted to remember, and the things she was still trying to forgive. Some days were good, some days weren't. Lucas, too, was changing. He no longer hid in his office. He laughed more. Cooked once, though he nearly burned the kitchen. He apologized more than once for the things he didn't say when he should have. But deep down, both of them knew their story wasn't just about reunion. There was more. One morning, Isabelle walked past the mail tray and noticed a thick envelope with no name, just Lucas's address. She picked it up, curious, and brought it to him. He frowned. "I wasn't expecting anything." He opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a photo. He stared at it. Isabelle saw his hands begin to tremble. "What is it?" she asked gently. Lucas said nothing. He just handed her the photo. Her heart stopped. It was a woman, middle-aged, worn face, eyes that looked like theirs. And the paper. "You're not the only one who survived the fire. A friend." Isabelle felt dizzy. "Is that?" Lucas nodded slowly. "It might be Mom. But they told us she died." "They told us a lot of things," Lucas said, his voice tight. The two sat in silence, staring at the woman in the photo. There was something about her, something that felt like truth. Isabelle looked at the note again. "Who's the friend?" "I don't know," Lucas said, "but we're going to find out." And so, a new chapter began. They started asking questions, tracking down names, calling people from the old neighborhood. Lucas hired someone he trusted to help, an old friend named Elijah, a retired investigator who once helped him search for Isabelle. "I'll look into this," Elijah said, "but be ready. Sometimes the truth is heavier than the lie." A week passed, then two. Finally, Elijah returned, with more than they expected. "She didn't die," he said. "Your mother escaped, but she was badly burned. She had memory loss, was taken in by a shelter far from the city." Isabelle's hands flew to her mouth. Lucas sat down slowly, his face pale. "She's alive," Isabelle whispered. "She's alive," Elijah confirmed. "And she remembers you now. It took time, but the photo you got, that was from her." "She sent it?" Lucas asked, shocked. Elijah nodded. "With help, she wants to see you, both of you." Tears filled Isabelle's eyes. After all these years, they weren't just two lost pieces, they were three. Lucas looked at his sister. "Are you ready?" She smiled through her tears. "Yes." The drive to the care center felt like forever. Isabelle stared out the window, gripping her hands in her lap. Lucas sat beside her, silent, his jaw tight. Neither of them spoke much. "What do you say to a ghost?" When they arrived, the nurse led them down a quiet hallway. The building smelled like tea and flowers and old wood. Paintings of trees hung on the walls. A soft piano tune played from a distant room. The nurse stopped in front of a door. "She's inside," she said gently. Lucas opened it. The room was small but bright. A woman sat in a chair by the window, her hair silver and tied back in a bun. Her face was thin. A scar ran along her cheek. But when she turned, Isabelle gasped. Those eyes she had seen in the mirror her whole life. "Mom?" she said, her voice breaking. The woman's lips trembled. "Isabelle," she whispered. Lucas stepped in beside her. "It's us," he said. "It's really us." Their mother covered her mouth, tears falling fast. She stood slowly, weakly, and opened her arms. They ran to her. All three of them clung together, crying, shaking, laughing through sobs. "I thought I lost you both," she whispered. "We thought you were gone," Isabelle cried. Lucas didn't speak. He couldn't. He just held his mother tighter. They sat together for hours. She told them everything. How the fire started from a faulty wire. How she had grabbed Leo first but blacked out while searching for Isabelle. How she woke up in a hospital with no memory. How she wandered through shelters. How it all came back piece by piece over the years, but no one believed her story. "I had nothing," she said softly. "No photos, no names, just pain. But then one day, I remembered the drawing. Leo plus Isa. I remembered your faces, and I started looking." She sent the photo and letter through someone she met at the center, a volunteer, the same friend who wrote the message. "You saved us," Isabelle said. "No," her mother replied. "You saved each other." They visited her every day after that. Lucas bought her a small cottage near the mansion. Isabelle moved in temporarily to help her settle. Slowly, they built a new rhythm. Not perfect, but real. Old wounds took time, but laughter returned. One evening, as they sat in the garden together, Isabelle looked at Lucas. We've been through so much. Lucas nodded. Too much. But we're not broken, she said. Not anymore. He smiled. We were never broken. Just lost. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Promise me we'll never lose each other again. He wrapped an arm around her. Promise. A breeze passed, lifting the leaves gently. Their mother watched from the porch, a quiet smile on her face. A family, once torn apart, together again. But just as life felt whole, a letter arrived. No return name. No address. Inside, a photo. A man neither of them recognized, holding the same toy truck Leo had as a child, and a note. You're not the only one looking for the truth. Is the past really behind them, or is something still hidden in the ashes? The photo stayed on the table between them, silent and strange. Isabelle picked it up again. Who is he? Lucas leaned closer. I don't know. The man in the picture looked like he was standing in front of an old warehouse. His face was rough, beard thick. He wore a worn jacket, but in his hand, clear as day, was the old red toy truck Lucas had lost in the fire, the same one that had only one wheel left. Lucas swallowed hard. That toy, it's mine, from when I was a kid. But you had it when we were little, Isabelle said. How could someone else have it now? Lucas didn't answer. His mind was racing. Isabelle turned the photo over. Nothing was written on the back, just the note that came with it. You're not the only one looking for the truth. What if someone else survived the fire? She asked softly. Someone we don't know about. Lucas stood up and began pacing. No, that can't be. It was just us and Mom. No one else lived in the house. Unless... Isabelle hesitated. Unless it wasn't an accident. Lucas stopped walking. You think someone set IIT? She nodded slowly. And now they're trying to reach out. They shared a long look. Lucas called Elijah again. I need you to dig, he said, deeper than before. Elijah sighed on the other end. I'll see what I can find, but be careful. If someone's reaching out after all this time, they either want answers or revenge. The next few days felt heavy. Lucas and Isabelle returned to their mother's cottage and showed her the photo. She paled when she saw it. That man, she whispered. He was there that night. Lucas and Isabelle leaned in. What do you mean? He asked. I remember hearing shouting outside the house, their mother said slowly, eyes fogging with memory. Someone was arguing with your father. I looked out the window. That man was with him. Our father? Isabelle echoed. You said he left before we were even born. He came back that night, she whispered. He said he wanted money. I told him to leave. We argued. Then he left with that man. And later, the fire started. Lucas stepped back, stunned. You think they started it? I don't know, I can't say for sure, but something wasn't right. Elijah called that evening. I traced the photo's location, he said. It was taken near an old storage lot outside of town. That place has been abandoned for years, except recently. Someone's been seen going in and out. Lucas and Isabelle didn't wait. They drove out the next morning. The storage lot was surrounded by broken fences and old metal gates. A crow flew overhead. The place was silent, heavy with secrets. Inside one of the units, Lucas saw it, the toy truck, sitting on a wooden table. He picked it up. It was scratched, dirty, but real. Then a voice behind them, didn't think you'd actually come. They turned fast. The man from the photo stood in the doorway. Who are you? Lucas asked. The man gave a crooked smile. Name's Alan. Used to know your old man. What do you want from us? Isabelle asked, stepping closer to her brother. Answers, Alan said simply. Just like you. He pulled out an envelope and tossed it to them. Lucas opened it. Inside were newspaper clippings, letters, and one final picture. Their father. Alive, standing outside a bar. Just 2 months ago. Lucas's hand clenched the photo. He's still out there? He said, eyes burning. Alan nodded. You're not the only one with ghosts, kid. He ruined a lot of lives, not just yours. Isabelle stepped forward. Did he start the fire? Alan shrugged. He might have. He was desperate, owed people money, thought your mom had savings stashed somewhere. When she said no, well, he snapped. Lucas looked at the man. Why are you telling us this now? Alan sighed. Because I was there that night, and I did nothing. I watched a family burn. I thought you all died. I've lived with that guilt ever since. Silence fell. Isabelle whispered, Why keep the toy? Alan's voice cracked. It was the only thing untouched by the fire. I don't know why I took it. Maybe to remember, maybe to punish myself. He looked at them. Your father's in the next town over, still hiding, still lying. Thought you deserved to know. He turned to walk away. Wait, Lucas said. Why now? After all these years? Alan looked back. Because someone finally cared enough to look. They didn't speak on the drive back. Lucas gripped the steering wheel tighter than usual. Isabelle stared out the window, eyes heavy, heart full. Their father was alive. He had been nearby all this time, hiding while they suffered, while their mother healed alone, while they grew up thinking they had no one. The next day, Lucas knocked on Isabelle's door. I'm going to find him, he said. Isabelle nodded. Then I'm coming with you. They packed light and left early, following Alan's directions. The town was small, tucked between hills and empty roads. It didn't take long to find the bar. The same one from the photo. Lucas parked across the street. The place looked tired. Paint peeling. Neon sign flickering weakly. Inside it was dark, filled with the smell of old beer and lost time. They stepped in together. A few heads turned. Then they saw him. At the back, alone, hunched over a drink, their father. Lucas froze. His hands balled into fists. Isabelle's breath caught. The man looked older than they expected. Grey hair, stubble, deep lines carved into his face. Lucas walked forward slowly. Isabelle followed. The man looked up and stopped. His eyes widened. He blinked. No. Lucas stood in front of him. You remember us? Silence. Then, Leo? Lucas didn't answer. Isa. Isabelle? The man whispered. She flinched. I thought you were, he began. Dead? Lucas said. Because of you? The man swallowed. I didn't mean to. To what? Isabelle's voice cracked. Set the fire, abandon us, lie to everyone. I was angry. I was broke. Your mother, she wouldn't give me anything. I snapped. I didn't think it would burn like that. Lucas slammed his hand on the table. The bar went quiet. You left us, he growled. You destroyed our family. The man didn't defend himself. I never stopped thinking about you kids, he said quietly. But I was a coward. I couldn't face what I did. You don't get to hide behind guilt, Isabelle said, voice trembling. We were children. I know, he whispered. A pause. Why are you here? He asked. Lucas stepped back, chest heaving. To say what you never said. The man nodded slowly. Then say it. Lucas looked him dead in the eyes. You don't control us anymore. He turned and walked away. Isabelle stayed a moment longer. She stared at the man who gave them life and pain. I forgive you, she whispered. But I don't need you. Then she followed her brother into the light. Back home, things felt different. Not lighter, but clearer. They finally had the truth. And now they could start again with no ghosts behind them. Lucas returned to his work, but not in isolation. He spent weekends with his mother, cooked dinners with Isabelle. They told stories of their childhood, the good parts, not just the fire. They laughed more now, sometimes cried, but it was healing, not hurting. One night, Lucas found Isabelle in the garden, writing in her journal. He sat beside her. You still writing your list? He asked. She smiled. Yeah, but it's changed. How? "It used to be a list of things I lost," she said. "Now it's things I've found." He nodded. They sat in silence. Then Isabelle asked, "Do you ever wonder if there's still more we don't know?" Lucas looked up at the stars. "Always." She closed her journal and leaned back. "Then let's promise something." "What?" "No more running from the past, ever." Lucas smiled. "Deal." They bumped their fists together like they used to as kids. The night sky watched over them, but deep in the city, a woman stepped off a train with a wrinkled photo in her hand. She stared at the mansion printed on it and whispered, "I finally found you, Isabelle." The next morning felt ordinary until the doorbell rang. Lucas opened the front door of the mansion to find a woman standing there. Early 30s, tired eyes, messy brown curls tied into a knot. She looked like she'd traveled far. "Can I help you?" he asked, cautious. She held out a folded paper. "I'm looking for Isabelle Flores." Lucas froze. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Who are you?" She hesitated. "My name is Mira Flores." Lucas blinked. "Flores?" "Yes," she said softly. "I think I'm her sister." Everything went still. Lucas didn't speak. His hands trembled. Isabelle entered the foyer just in time to hear it. She stopped on the last step of the staircase, staring down at the stranger. "Sister?" she whispered. Mira looked up, eyes watering. "Hi, Isabelle." They stared at each other. "No," Isabelle said, shaking her head. "That can't be. I don't have another sister. Just Leo, Lucas." Mira stepped forward slowly. "You wouldn't remember me. I was born after the fire." "What?" "Our father," Mira said quietly. "After everything, he had another daughter, with someone else. My mother died when I was a baby. He raised me for a while, until he couldn't anymore." Isabelle sat down, stunned. "Why didn't we know?" "Because he didn't want you to," Mira said, pain flashing in her voice. "He never talked about you. I found this photo in an old box. It had your name on the back." She opened her coat and pulled out the wrinkled photo, an image of a younger Isabelle holding Leo's hand in front of their old house. "I searched," Mira whispered. "I needed to know where I came from." Isabelle looked at the photo, then at her face. Now that she was closer, she could see it, the eyes, the same shape, the same pain. Mira was telling the truth. Lucas sat down slowly, stunned. He never said a word, not one. "I think he wanted to forget you," Mira said. "But I couldn't." Tears slid down Isabelle's cheeks. "I don't even know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything," Mira replied. "I just wanted to meet you, to see if the stories I made up in my head were true." Isabelle stood and hugged her tightly. No more words were needed. Lucas stood up too, blinking away tears. "Welcome to the family," he said. For the first time in years, Isabelle felt something she never thought she'd feel again. Whole. Weeks passed. The mansion was fuller now. Mira stayed in the guest room. Their mother visited more often, delighted by the twist fate had offered. The family took walks in the garden, laughed at inside jokes, learned how to be something they never got to be before. Together. Isabelle wrote in her journal every day. On the last page she wrote, "The fire may have taken everything, but love found its way back, piece by piece." And yet, one late night, Lucas sat at his desk, flipping through the old documents Alan gave him. One note caught his eye, faded handwriting, unread before. She was there that night too. Lucas's eyes narrowed. "Who?" He checked the back of the page. No name. He stood and went to Isabelle's room. "Isa," he said, gently waking her. "There's something I need to show you." She rubbed her eyes. "What is it?" He held up the note. "I think there's someone else, someone we haven't found yet." Isabelle sat up slowly. Another piece? Another ghost? Or another miracle? The days that followed were quiet, but not empty. There was laughter now, shared meals, forgotten birthdays celebrated late, old photo albums reprinted and placed proudly on the shelves. Isabelle often walked through the halls that once felt cold and unfamiliar. Now they felt like home. Lucas spent less time behind screens and more time beside people. Mira slowly found her rhythm in the family, asking questions about their mother, about childhood memories she never got to live. Their mother often sat in the garden, knitting and smiling as she watched her children, all of them, grow into something beautiful, something strong. Isabelle stood beside her one morning, sipping tea as the sun warmed the flowers. "We lost so much," she said softly. Her mother nodded. "But we gained something too." Isabelle smiled. "A second chance." "No," her mother whispered. "A truer one." Lucas joined them with a tray of toast, joking about how he still couldn't cook, and Mira laughed from the kitchen as she nearly burned the eggs. The house echoed with voices again. Real ones. No more ghosts in the walls. Just memories. And love. That night, Isabelle sat alone by the window in her room, writing in her journal under the warm light. She flipped to a fresh page and wrote slowly, "We can't change the past, but we can choose how it ends. For years I believed I was alone, but the truth found me, one broken piece at a time. And those pieces, they became my family." She closed the journal, and for the first time in her life, she felt complete. Yet as the moon rose high above the mansion, a knock echoed at the gate. A small child stood outside, holding a letter clutched tightly in both hands. The note inside read, "She belongs to you and nothing else. Who is this little girl? And what secret ties her to the family Isabelle thought was finally whole? The past may be behind them, but has it really let go?"